Welcome back to What's Your Opinion? And I know it's been a long time, but trust me, there's a good reason. I was out buying this new hat. No, as you can see in the background, obviously something has changed. As you can see, there are no more footballs there, and that's because, I've been helping my beard brother Andrew Luck prepare for the OTAs. As you've seen, he's been throwing again, and that's all thanks to me. So if you're a Colts fan, you can send, money directly to my P.O. box, anything like that. I can also put my PayPal details down in the description below. Any kind of gratitude for getting Andrew Luck back throwing can go directly to me, so you're welcome for that. I've also, with the World Cup coming up, I've been pretty busy because I was selected to play for my national team until they realized I couldn't actually play the sport and they sent me home, and I was actually never invited. I just snuck onto the training ground. But that's all irrelevant because I've also interviewed a significant figure in the football scene, which you will find out about soon enough. But now let's get down to the nitty-gritty of it. The NFL has been introducing some crazy new rules in the last few weeks. Some of them you may not believe whatsoever, potentially for good reason. But the point is, let's take a look at these new rules that the NFL will be using in the upcoming season. So the first rule that will be added, and it's courtesy of Carter Marchbanks, is that third base is illegal to touch unless there is a touchdown, which is only possible if a three-pointer is airballed, then flashes the goal lights to the soccer ref, who begins to wonder what the heck is rugby. And I'm interested to see how this one will be implemented. I think there could be a lot of controversy around it, but I think it will make the game better. And now for a rule suggestion that isn't actually coming in this year, but Daniel Middlebrook suggests that if he could change a rule, it would be that all Super Bowls be played in Cleveland. Most of the time, the team hosting the Super Bowl will not be in it, so that solves everyone's problems. Thanks to Tyler Smith, a new rule has come into force banning Cam Newton from wearing hats at press conferences because he looks like someone's grandma at church. And now the big rule I think everyone is looking forward to. As you know, the draft is pretty boring. Blah, 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 future of the franchise, all that rubbish. We need some more excitement in the draft process, and Turbo Clash has come up with the perfect rule for that. He's going to force Roger Goodell to dress up as Shrek for the draft announcements. And as you can see here, Eagles legend Ron Jaworski, big fan of that change. So, as you know, in recent years, there's been a few complaints from fans about a distinct lack of house pets on the field. And Hurry the Feet says that every game now has to have a cat as a player, and they must touch the ball at least once in each game. And I think that will go a long way to solving a lot of those complaints. Tom Waitman says, to quote Charles Davis's Madden commentary, which I've literally never listened to, safeties are so rare I would make them 7 points. And it's a fair point because let's figure it, right? Field goals are easy, you only get 3 points for them. Touchdowns are harder, you get 6 points for them. Safeties, so many things have to happen for them to even be possible to happen. How you get the least amount of points for them is in some ways ridiculous, and also 2 points is what you should get for hitting the crossbar on a kickoff. As Joel43 says, there is a new rule saying that there is no Joe Flacco allowed in the playoffs, but John Harbaugh has already been enforcing that rule. But as Jacob the Great points out, actually, I think Joe Flacco is enforcing the rule. And now finally, a rule change we can all get behind. Fallen Hero 421 says, get rid of the 3-pump rule so Hingle McCringleberry can finally stop getting penalties. Maximus Mapstone says a rule change he'd make is a new style of football called the Not FL, make the game 10 seconds long, and then both teams will have the ball at the same time, and the teams will put all of their 53 players on the field, and the first team to score wins. Hunt for Dak says if he could make a rule, it would be this: BJ Wiener has to beat every starting NFL quarterback in a wrestling match, wearing a thong of course, and if BJ Wiener wins, then he can play for any team he wants with Dixon Cider on his team. Connor and 12 looking to enforce a potentially controversial rule where it will be illegal for any player except for players who play for the Philadelphia Eagles to move. Teleporting Ender says he would give a team to a point if they have the nerve to dab, and I think it would look something like this. So here we have it, the Panthers up 38-10 on the Buccaneers, but oh look at that, there's an extra 10 points there, and now it's 48-10. Zach Azalius is looking at game balancing here. He says he would help out the offense by having all defensive players required to run backwards, and he would in turn help the defense by having all offensive players besides the O-line be blindfolded. He would also change the league name to the NFL, because if somebody scores, it'll be a miracle. Choco Taco says he wants to make a rule that no one is allowed to get hurt, and then nobody will, because as we know, nobody in the NFL breaks rules ever. Oh, hey Johnny, how are you doing? Connor Fresh still trying to get those Los Angeles Chargers back to San Diego, and this is his rule change to make that happen. There should be a rule where Philip Rivers has to have a permanent megaphone on his helmet, so the constant shouting of anger over his offensive line not blocking will cause the stadium to collapse, so they'll have to move back to San Diego. Until they move, people in LA will go into hiding every Sunday to protect themselves from the earthquake-causing sound waves that is Philip Rivers trash talking. The only change I would make there, I don't think he needs the megaphone. Liam Anderson's dreams have come true as the NFL has officially announced that Roger Goodell will have to, every single week, create a reaction video to Fortnite fails and highlights as per his new contract. Alex Patterson wants to add a golf handicap type rule to balance the league a little bit better. He says the Browns get to have a touchdown handicap to them before every game to make the score 7-0 before a kickoff, which would make the league more competitive. And in that line, Hayden Richards also looking to make the league a little bit more competitive. BJ Wiener must play quarterback for both the team he's on and for the team he's facing against. This makes the games with him more interesting, as if it were to only be him, obviously the game will be over before it started. And finally, Jason DeVere with the final rule changes, and there's a few here, but I'm going to go for my two favorites. Rule 2, if a corner is to press a receiver, that cornerback has to ask the receiver if it's okay first. And the final rule, the NFL has made the catch rule much simpler. Finally, now we will understand it. If you do not maintain possession long enough for the entirety of the national anthem on a 72-degree day while my mum is telling me a bedtime story, the play is under further review. And those are the new rule changes. You can look forward to those being in effect, and you can look forward to me making videos again on a regular basis. Now, one of the reasons I didn't, and you may be able to hear it, I don't think it's as bad because I've already gone some way to making it better. There is a bit of an echo whilst I'm doing this stuff, which obviously I'm trying to get rid of, and it should be by next week gone, hopefully. If not, I have to buy a whole bunch of foam padding for this room, which I don't want to do. And so, with OTAs and all of that stuff underway, of course, what happens every year is a bunch of players don't turn up for work because they want more money. Now, everybody's tried, just not turning up. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. What I think we can do is we can come together as a community and we can think of some much more creative ways to force your employer to give you a raise. So, if you're an NFL player and you want a new contract, what would you do to get a raise?